All right, today we're cracking open a true classic, H.G. Wells's The Time Machine. Now, you might think this is just a cool adventure story, right? But trust me, it's so much more. It's actually a super unsettling look at where we as a species could be headed. It uses this wild vision of the future to ask some really tough questions about, well, about right now.
So, just imagine for a second, you've got a machine that can take you literally anywhere in time. Now, your first thought is probably, let's go see the dinosaurs, right? But forget that. What if you could go the other way? What if you could travel forward, like all the way to the end, to see humanity's final act on this planet?
I mean, would you actually do it? Would you take that trip? Well, that is exactly what our hero does. He jumps into his machine and flings himself hundreds of thousands of years into the future, just to see what we've become. And let me tell you, the truth he finds, it's an absolute nightmare. You know, there's a quote from H.G. Wells himself that really unlocks this whole story. He said, "The more you go ahead, the more you seem to get entangled with the burning questions of your own time." And that's it, right there. This wasn't just him making up a cool sci-fi story, no way. He was using the future as a giant distorted mirror to reflect his own world.
Okay, so let's get into it. Our hero, who by the way we only know as the time traveler, he builds this incredible machine, hops in, and just launches himself into the future. And where does he land? The year 80,271. Just let that sink in for a moment.
And at first, that's exactly what it looks like. He steps out of his machine into what seems like a perfect utopia. A beautiful, lush, green world, like a garden, really. It looks like humanity has finally figured it all out. You know, peace, tranquility, the whole deal.
And he's greeted by these people called the Eloi. And they are just beautiful, delicate, gentle creatures. They seem to have no fear at all. This one here is Weena, and she actually becomes his friend. She's kind of the perfect example of this new version of humanity, or at least what it appears to be.
I mean, just look at this list. This world of the Eloi, it really is like paradise on Earth. These people are small, almost childlike. There's no work, no struggle, no disease. Food, fruit, is everywhere for the taking. They live in these huge, kind of crumbling, but still magnificent buildings. All they do is play and eat. It really seems like humanity finally did it. They solved every single problem that ever bothered us.
So the time traveler comes up with his first theory about what's going on. It's pretty simple, but also kind of profound. He figures, hey, in a world with perfect safety, perfect comfort, what happens to us? We lose our edge. Wells puts it perfectly. Strength is the outcome of need. If you don't need to be strong or smart or tough, well, you won't be. All that strength and intelligence just faded away.
But yeah, that neat little theory, it starts to fall apart, and fast. The time traveler starts seeing things. Little things at first. Strange, unsettling details that they don't add up. Something is very wrong with this paradise. And then, bam, the first real shock hits him. He goes back to the spot where he landed his machine, and it's gone. Just vanished. His only way home. Imagine that feeling. The panic must have been insane. He's trapped, he's stuck here. His search for the machine leads him right here to this enormous, creepy statue of a white sphinx. It's huge, it's ancient, and it just looms over everything. And it feels like it's watching him, you know, with this weird, faint, almost mocking smile on its face. This statue becomes the absolute center of the whole mystery.
Okay, so here's mystery number one. These deep wells. He starts noticing them all over the place, but they're not for water. Instead, there's this constant rhythmic thump, thump, thump coming from deep down below, like some giant machine is running. And there's this weird draft of air constantly being sucked down into the darkness. So creepy.
Then we have mystery number two. He goes back to that creepy Sphinx statue and realizes the base, the pedestal it's sitting on, it's hollow. And that's when a horrible thought clicks into place for him. His time machine has been dragged inside. It's been locked away.
And finally, mystery number three, which might be the biggest clue of all, the Eloi themselves. Remember how I said they were carefree? Well, that's only during the day. As soon as the sun starts to set, they are absolutely gut-wrenchingly terrified of the dark. They all crowd together inside these huge buildings, just shivering with fear. What are they so afraid of?
So to figure out this insane puzzle, the time traveler has a realization. He can't just keep looking at the future. To understand what's happening in the year 82,701, he has to look backward, all the way back to his own time, the Victorian era.
So, let's talk about Wells's England for a second. It was a society split right down the middle. On one side, you had what some called the House of Have, the super wealthy upper class who didn't have to work, just living lives of total ease. And on the other side, the House of Want, the working class, the poor, who spent their lives toiling in factories and deep down in the coal mines.
And you know what's crazy? A lot of people back then justified this massive gap with a really messed up idea called social Darwinism. Basically, they believed that evolution guaranteed humans would just keep getting better and better, and that the rich were rich simply because they were fitter, more evolved. Wells thought this was complete nonsense, and a time machine is basically his direct assault on that whole dangerous idea.
And this is where it all comes together. The horrifying answer to the puzzle. That old Victorian class divide, it never went away. In fact, it got worse. It became biological. See, over thousands and thousands of years, the upper class, they became the Eloi, living up on the surface in total ease. And the working class, they were pushed further and further underground to run the machines, and they became the Morlocks. They evolved into two totally separate species. And here's the final stomach-turning twist. The Morlocks still take care of the Eloi, all right? They clothe them and feed them because the Eloi are now their cattle. They're farming them for food.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's simple, really. The time machine was never meant to be a prediction of the future. It was a warning. And honestly, it's just as powerful and relevant today as it was when he first wrote it.
Wells himself actually called his novel an assault on human self-satisfaction. He wanted to take that comfy Victorian belief that everything is always getting better and just smash it to pieces. He was trying to show us a really chilling truth. Evolution isn't some ladder we're climbing to perfection. It's just adaptation, and sometimes the thing we adapt into is a monster.
And that really leaves us with one final, pretty unsettling thought, doesn't it? Wells looked at the world around him, at the social divisions of his time, and he spun that forward into this absolute nightmare. So the question is, if he were here today, looking at our world, with all of our inequalities and our challenges, what kind of future would he imagine for us?